Echoes in the shadows. I remember that night vividly. Emily was playing a game of cards when it happened. I had just laid down a perfect sequence, a move that left Emily with no choice but to draw from the market. As she did, she giggled. I smiled in victory as I waited for her to shuffle her cards and play. But she didn't. Instead, she dropped her head onto the table and started laughing uncontrollably. It was intense. I laughed too because I found it funny, but stopped when, instead of slowing down, she increased the tempo, flinging the cards upward and pulling on her hair. Before I could make a move or alert our parents, who were upstairs in their room, Emily stood up and rushed to the kitchen. As I ran after her, I saw Father coming down the stairs. He had heard the commotion. We both rushed into the kitchen just in time to see Emily grab a bottle, smash it on the counter, and then stab herself in the thigh with the pointed broken end. The bright red spill made my stomach turn, and before I knew it, I let out a sharp shriek. Father lunged at her, grabbing her wrist just in time to stop a second stab. It didn't look easy as they wrestled for the piece of broken bottle, Emily's wound spraying blood everywhere. As soon as Father disarmed her, she fainted. Mother, who had come into the kitchen by now, helped Father carry her. I pressed down on her wound, my hands trembling, as we rushed out to the car. It was the first time I saw Father drive with frenzy. The hospital was a 5-minute drive. We made it in 2. Emily's eyes remained shut throughout the drive. Mother applied pressure to the wound while I sat looking at Emily, wondering why she did what she did. We returned home that night after the wound was stitched. Emily wasn't in any danger, the doctor had said. Since we both shared a room, it wasn't a week before I heard her speaking to herself. It was late at night. It was summer, but the room felt like a freezer. My breath came out in faint, misty puffs. My body shivered slightly as I listened. "Please, leave me alone. I'm tired of this. People think I'm crazy. I shouldn't have read that book. I shouldn't have allowed my curiosity to push me into researching those mysteries. I was wrong. Please, let me be." Her voice trembled. When I opened my eyes, she was standing in the middle of the room, her eyes emitting a faint greenish glow. Around her, a circle with multiple triangles emitted the same light, coming from her eyes. A putrid stench hung in the room, slowly sucking the air. I heard a low rumble. It was deep and felt like 2 stones grinding against each other.
"You walked into my space that night. You descended into my world willingly. You sought knowledge beyond your grasp, and now you belong to me." The temperature of the room dropped further. I lay paralyzed with fear on the bed. I looked towards the door, expecting Father to burst in, but it remained shut. Emily whimpered as if in pain. She lifted her head upwards and slowly bent at the waist downwards. The glow from her eyes flickered. Then suddenly, I sneezed. When I opened my eyes again, the faint light was gone. It would have seemed like everything went back to normal if Emily's body wasn't sprawled on the ground. The next morning at school, I pulled Emily aside, away from our parents. I needed answers, but she just frowned and said she didn't remember anything. Her eyes, too, seemed to be telling the truth. If I hadn't put her back in bed, I wouldn't believe what I saw either. I was scared. I told her to be careful before going to my classroom. Barely an hour later, I heard a piercing scream. This got the whole school excited. I was called to Emily's class. Something was happening. When I got there, Emily's body was twisted at an unnatural angle, like a broken doll. Her arms bent the wrong way. Her head lolled sideways, her mouth half open in a silent gasp. Her eyes were rolled back. All the other students in class created a safe distance from her. "Emily!" I called out, but she didn't respond. I heard a teacher saying the principal had sent for our parents.
That was when it happened. My sister suddenly moved. I didn't know where she got the speed from, but in less than 20 seconds, all the chairs and tables were upside down. Books flew in the air. Jake, her classmate, thrashed in her grip, his face turning red as her fingers dug into his throat. It took about 5 male teachers to finally restrain Emily. It was pure chaos. By the time everything settled down, an ambulance was already on its way to the hospital with Jake and another teacher who had suffered a broken arm. A sedative finally calmed Emily down, and no, we didn't return to a hospital. Even with the evidence in front of everybody, nobody believed that just a moment ago, a 13-year-old girl possessed superhuman strength. When Father arrived, he was allowed to take us home. Back home, Emily kept saying she couldn't remember in response to every question Father asked her. Mother was by herself, weeping. She clutched the phone, whispering frantically to Father Anders. Her fingers trembled as she ran them over the rosary beads, each prayer coming out sharper, more desperate. I looked at Emily again and again, hoping to catch a glint in her eyes. I wanted a hint, something, anything, to show that she remembered, that she knew what she was doing. Then it crossed my mind. "What did you read in the book?" I asked abruptly. "Nothing," Emily snapped, too quickly. And there it was, just for a second, the flicker in her eyes. My chest tightened. She remembers. She knows. I told myself I wasn't going to sleep that night. I told myself I would stay awake to see what would happen when the room turned cold. I told myself I would get to the root of it all, but I never did. That night was the last time we saw Emily. When I woke up the next morning, all that remained were ashes, drawn into a circle with multiple triangles inside. There was no sign of Emily. Her pajamas lay untouched in the center, as if she had melted away inside them. When I had tried to explain to the police and to Father and Mother, they didn't believe me. They all thought someone had kidnapped Emily. But how do you kidnap someone without a single footprint, without a single sound? No one did. But I still saw her every night for as long as we stayed in that house. A faint green glow, talking to an entity with a thick, grinding voice. And no matter how many times I tried to get up to reach her, I would sneeze, only to wake up to a quiet house again. The end.